Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18. We heard yesterday that how Devyani has asked now that Sharmishta and all her friends go with her after marriage and become her maidservants. And Sharmishta's father, the king, Sharmishta's father, the king, he agreed to this proposal. Reading on. Nahushaya sutam datva
Nahushaya sutam dattva
saha sharmishta yoshana
Shaha sharmishta yoshana
tam aha rajan charmishtam
Tam aharajan sarmishtham
adastalpena karhiche.
Adhastalpena karhichit.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When Shukracharya gave Devyani in marriage to Yayāti, he had Charmishta go with her. But he warned the king, my dear king, never allow this girl, Charmishta, to lie with you in your bed. So Shukracharya is already warning to Yayāti. Vilokyoshana Simrajan
Vilokya oshanis rajan
Charmishta Suprajam Kvache
Sarmishtha suprajam kvachit
Tam Eva Vavre Rahasi
Tameva bhavre rahasi
Sakhya Patimrito Sati.
Sakhyaha patimrito sati.
King Parikshit, upon seeing Devyani with a nice son, Sharmishta once approached King Yayāti at the appropriate time for conception. In a secluded place, she requested the king, the husband of her friend Devyani, to enable her to have a son also. So Sharmishta also feels like having a son now. She's saying, oh, Devyani has a son. And she's like, oh, even I want to have a son. So she has approached Yayāti. Raja Putriyarthito Patye
Raja putriyarthito apatye
Dharmam Chaveksha Dharmavid
Dharmam chaveksha cha dharmavid
Smaran Chukra Vachakale
Smaran shukravachan kale
Dishtam Eva Bhyapadyata.
Dishtam eva abhayapadhata.
When Princess Sharmishta begged King Yayati for a son, the king was certainly aware of the principles of religion, and therefore he agreed to fulfill her desire. Although he remembered the warning of Shukracharya, he thought of this union as the desire of the Supreme, and thus he had sex with Sharmishta. King Yayati was completely aware of the duty of a Kshatriya. When a Kshatriya is approached by a woman, he cannot deny her. This is a religious principle. So this is, as different principles are there for different Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. For a Kshatriya, it's if a woman is approaching a Kshatriya, he cannot deny her. He has to accept her. Consequently, when Dharmaraj Yudhishthir saw Arjun unhappy after Arjun returned from Dwarka, he asked whether Arjuna had refused a woman who had begged for a son. So it was such a known principle that, when Arjuna had gone to Dwarka and when he came back to Hastinapur and he was looking very sad, his body luster was was gone. He was looking so weak. And Yudhishthir Maharaj said, "Oh, did you not uphold the religious principle? Did you refuse a woman when she wanted to have a son?" Although Maharaj Yayāti remembered Shukracharya's warning, he could not refuse Sharmishta. He thought it wise to give her a son, and thus he had sexual intercourse with her after her menstrual period. This kind of lust is not against religious principles, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.11. Dharma virodho bhuteshu kamosmi. Sex life, not contrary to the principles of religion, is sanctioned by Krishna. Because Sharmishta, the daughter of a king, had begged Yayati for a son, their combination was not lust, but an act of religion. So although Yayati remembered that Shukracharya had told me, not to not to unite with Sharmishta, but it's a higher principle for me because she wants a son and she has approached me, and so I must fulfill this as a matter of religious principle, not as a matter of lust. Any comments?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay, then going on. Yadum cha turvasum cheva
यदुं च तुर्वसुं चैव
deva yani vyachayata
देवयानी व्यजायत
druyum chanum cha purum cha
दूयुं चारुं च पूरुं च
sharmishta varsha parvani.
शर्मिष्ठावार्षपर्वणि.
Devyani gave birth to Yadu and Turvasu, and Sharmishta gave birth to Dhruyu, Anu, and Puru. So Sharmishta has three sons also. Devyani has two, Yadu and Turvasu. Sharmishta has Dhruyu, Anu, and Puru. Garbha Sambhavam Asurya
गर्भसम्भवम् आसूर्या
Bhartur Vigyayamanini
भर्तुं विज्ञायमानिना
Devyani Piturgeham
देवयानी पितुर्गेहम्
Yayo Krodha Vimurchita.
ययो क्रोध विमूर्छिता.
When the proud Devayani understood from outside sources that Sharmishta was pregnant by her husband, she was frenzied with anger. Thus she departed for her father's house. Priyam Anugata Kami
प्रियाम् अनुगतः कामी
Vachobir Upamantrayan
वचोभिरुपमन्त्रयन्
Na Prasadayitum Sheke
न प्रसादयितुं शेके
Pada Samvahanadibihi.
पादसंवाहन आदिभिः.
King Yayati, who was very lusty, followed his wife, caught her, and tried to appease her by speaking pleasing words and massaging her feet, but he could not satisfy her by any means. So Devyani is upset. So she's gone to her father's house. So now King Yayati, he's too attached to her. So he's trying to, to pacify her. Shukrastam aha kupita.
शुक्रस्तम् आहा कुपित
स्त्री कामांत्र पुरुष
स्त्री कामानृतपूरुष
त्वं जरा विष्टां मंद
त्वां जरा विशतां मंद
विरूपा करणी नृणाम.
विरूपा करणी नृणाम्.
Shukracharya was extremely angry. You untruthful fool, lusting after women, you have done a great wrong, he said. I therefore curse you to be attacked and disfigured by old age and invalidity. So Shukracharya is like, oh, you know, you didn't follow what I told you, you're too lusty, now you become old and diseased. Shri Yayāti Ruvacha
श्रीययातिरुवाच
Atriptosmi Adya Kamanam
अतृप्तोऽस्मि अद्य कामानां
Brahman Duhitari Smate
ब्रह्मन् दुहितरि स्म ते
Vyatyasyatam Yatha Kamam
व्यथ्यस्त्यां यथा कामम्
Vayasa Yobhidasyate.
वयासा यो अभिधास्यति.
King Yayati said, O learned, worshipable Brahmana, I have not satisfied my lusty desires with your daughter. Shukracharya then replied, You may exchange your old age with someone who will agree to transfer his youth to you. When King Yayati said that he had not yet satisfied his lusty desires with Shukracharya's daughter, Shukracharya saw that it was against the interests of his own daughter for Yayati to continue in old age and invalidity, for certainly his lusty daughter would not be satisfied. So we can also see Devyani, she's always complaining to her father, and the father is also affectionate to Devyani. And even if sometimes her demands are unreasonable, he is following through, like letting Sharmishta become her maid. So now Yayati is saying, okay, you made me old and diseased, but I still want to enjoy with your daughter. I'm not yet satisfied. So, help me. So Shukracharya is thinking, oh, well, it, if Yayati is old and he's diseased, so it's not good for my daughter also. She's also going to suffer. So he's telling her, okay, you can exchange your old age. If somebody is willing to exchange with you, you can exchange it. Therefore, Shukracharya blessed his son-in-law by saying that he could exchange his old age for someone else's youth. He indicated that if Yayati's son would exchange his youth for Yayati's old age, Yayati could continue to enjoy sex with Devayani. So Shukracharya is kind of hinting, okay, your son can exchange with you, You can still remain young then. Iti labdha vyavasthana
इति लब्धा व्यवस्थान
putram jeshtam abhojata
पुत्रं ज्येष्ठम् अवोचत
yadotata pratichema
यदोत्ताथ प्रतिच्छेम्ना
jaram dehi nijam vayah.
जरां देहि निजं वयः.
When Yayati received this benediction from Shukracharya, he requested his eldest son, my dear son Yadu, please give me your youth in exchange for my old age and invalidity. So Yadu is the eldest son. So Yayati is telling Yadu, okay, you take my old age and you give me your youth. Matamaha kritam vatsa
मातामह कृतां वत्स
na tripto vishayeshva aham
न तृप्तो विषयेष्वहम्
vayasa bhavadiyena
वयसा भवदीयेन
ramsaye katipaya smaha.
रंसये कतिपयाः स्मः.
My dear son, I am not yet satisfied in my sexual desires. But if you're kind to me, you can take the old age given by your maternal grandfather, and I may take your youth so that I may enjoy life for a few years more. This is the nature of lusty desires. In Bhagavad Gita 7.20, it is said, Kamestes rita jnanaha. When one is too attached to sense gratification, he actually loses his sense. The word Ritagyana refers to one who has lost his sense. Here is an example. The father shamelessly asked his son to exchange youth for old age. Of course, the entire world is under such illusion. Therefore, it is said that everyone is pramataha, or exclusively mad. Nunam pramata kurute vikarma. When one becomes almost like a madman, he indulges in sex and sense gratification. Sex and sense gratification can be controlled, however, and one achieves perfection when he has no desires for sex. This is possible only when one is fully Krishna conscious. So Yadu is honestly telling, sorry, not Yadu, Yayāti is telling to Yadu, I still want to enjoy you. You take my old age, you give me your youth. Yadav Yadavadhi mama cheta Krishna padaravinde nava nava rasadhamni udayatam rantum asid tadavadhi batanari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikara shushtu nishtivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in Him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. Sexual desire can be stopped only when one is fully Krishna conscious and not otherwise. So Prabhupada is then telling that how one can get out of this sex desire, being Krishna conscious, fully Krishna conscious. As long as one desires for sex, one must change his body and transmigrate from one body to another to enjoy sex in different species or forms. But although the forms may differ, the business of sex is the same. Therefore, it is said, punas charvita charavanam, chewing the chewed. Those who are very much attached to sex transmigrate from one body to another with the same business of chewing the chewed, tasting sex enjoyment as a dog, sex enjoyment as a hog, sex enjoyment as a demigod, and so on. So here we can see that Yayāti, he is still has this too much desire to enjoy the world. And that's why he's telling his son, okay, you take my old age and you give me your youth. And then Prabhupada is pointing out that how one can give up one's lusty desire only by becoming fully Krishna conscious. Otherwise, we are doing the same thing, chewing the chewed in different bodies, different species. Any comments, questions?
This is what Prahlad Maharaj also said, right?
Yeah, this is Prahlad Maharaj's statement,
Yeah.
chewing the chewed.
Oh, yeah, chewing the chew. So Prabhupada is quoting that one, right? That
Yes,
because we are so much indulged. Yeah.
yeah, Prabhupada is quoting it here. And this one is by Jamunacharya, that my lips curl now. He was a Kshatriya before and then he became a transcendentalist. And so he's showing that how spiritual pleasure is even much, much higher. Service of Krishna is much higher, has much more pleasure.
In comparison to the sex, right? They are trying to do that. Compare, right?
Yeah, in comparison to
Yeah.
the sex, that spiritual pleasure is so much higher because the highest pleasure in this material world is the sex pleasure that's giving us here, that's keeping us here. But the transcendentalist is saying that the devotional service to Krishna has even much, much higher pleasure. that sex becomes like distasteful. Even when I'm thinking of it, it's like distasteful to me. And I'm spitting at that thought. It's so distasteful. Um, should we
It's
stop
a very
here?
long one. Yeah, we can stop here. It's a long one. Yeah.
Okay. Right then, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.